The world of the Gaslight District is post-apocalyptic. At the beginning of the pilot, the narrator says the world as we know it came to an end eons ago, and we see that there are some shots of cities underwater, indicating a possible worldwide flood. It seems that the people of the Gaslight District are mostly people who survived the apocalypse, but the inhabitants of the Gaslight District are undead. In the trailer and pilot, we briefly see this image. There is text, but it is in a code that appears throughout the pilot and the promotional images. So, if we decode this text, it says, "The body of he who bears the mark of the hand shall suffer injury, shall feel pain, shall witness death, but is forever tethered to the soul. Upon injury, the body will persist, bolstered by the mark. It will restore itself, but never to completion. Upon death, the seal shall awaken and bind the soul to the body once more. The body of he who bears the mark of the hand has become a tomb for his soul evermore and evermore." And we see that when an inhabitant of the Gaslight District dies, the symbol of the hand glows within them, and they resurrect. In fact, every inhabitant of the Gaslight District has the mark of the hand on them somewhere, except Mel, because she is the human from the egg. But where do the virtues and angels fit into all of this? Ken says that Paradise Lost belongs to the virtues. And then he tells us about how he was sentenced to an eternity in the Inferno, seemingly by the virtues, as we see one, Temperance, torture him. And later in the pilot, we see these tablets. Awesome Pup 1 took the time to translate the code on these, and this is what the tablets say. They are basically just detailing how prisoners who are sent to the Inferno will be dealt with. Something that stands out is that it says serious offenders will be escorted by virtue guards, and inmates will stand before a jury of virtues to be judged and sentenced to the level befitting their charge. This all indicates that the virtues have a lot of power and influence. Additionally, this text refers to the Inferno, which Ken was sentenced to in the past, but it mentions there being different levels. And in the pilot, we see this sign titled The Inferno, with a diagram of all the different levels. Awesome Pup 1 comes in again providing translations of all the different levels, and these are the translations. This is clearly all a reference to Dante's Inferno, which is a famous 14th century narrative poem about a journey through hell, through the 9 circles of hell. So, the Inferno in the Gaslight District is clearly meant to be hell, and the layers on this diagram are the same as those in Dante's Inferno. So, the virtues have dominion over hell. This is interesting, considering they have a lot of Christian imagery. Even their name, the virtues, refers to the 7 heavenly virtues, and the 2 virtues we have seen are named after the 7 heavenly virtues, as are other virtues that have been referred to in code, including patience and humility. However, despite this, it seems that the virtues are not heavenly in origin at all. When Ken fights back at Diligence, we see purple blood come out of Diligence's head. Purple blood like the blood of the Rotlings, the undead citizens of the Gaslight District. And when Ken fights Temperance and eats his brain, we see the mark of the hand on his brain. It seems that the virtues may be just like the other citizens of the Gaslight District, except that their brains are in robot bodies. In fact, here we see Ken burning some things in Temperance's lab, and there is some code on this piece of paper. Temporal Umbra translated it, but I should note that, to translate it, you do need to flip the image, as the code for this one is written in reverse. The title of this document is cut off, but it says something Shun Process. I am guessing the full title is probably Initiation Process, because the rest of the text says, The Virtue's Oath, something something, and Capture Guardian Angel. Offer your flesh in exchange for forgiveness. After devourment, your brain shall be placed within a porcelain prison. This appears to be instructions on how to become a virtue. It seems that, to become a virtue, you must capture a guardian angel, offer your flesh, maybe so the guardian angel can eat it, and then your brain will be put in one of those robot bodies. So, while the virtues seem to be representing the 7 heavenly virtues, clearly each virtue was not originally a virtue, meaning they originally had different names. Additionally, this website is a promotional page for the Gaslight District, and certain words can be inputted to give different answers, and the word sinners reveals the word virtues. So, I think we can conclude that the virtues may not have the purest of intentions. And so, as I said, the virtues are not heavenly in origin, and yet they seem to have dominion over the angels. Ken says that Paradise Lost is owned by the virtues, and in the trailer, we briefly saw this close-up of a map of the Gaslight District at the very end, where Paradise Lost is marked with an angel symbol. Additionally, the stairway to heaven is located in Paradise Lost. Now, here is where it gets very interesting. When Mel goes up the stairway to heaven and into heaven, we see that it is empty, except for some angels. But there are also clear signs of a battle, and we see this tablet. Temporal Umbra translated it, and it says this: Lo, the great threat of the virtues. May they perjure as lifeless husks on the holy ground, locked in eternal detritus. May their wretched remains lay as a testament to their folly, for the wrath of heaven may never be tamed. And in other scenes, we see lifeless bodies of virtues on the ground. So, when this tablet inscription says, the great threat of the virtues, may they perjure as lifeless husks on holy ground, that is clearly referring to the bodies of these virtues on the ground of heaven. So, this tablet inscription is indeed referring to a war between the virtues and the angels. The tablet said, for the wrath of heaven may never be tamed. That implies that the virtues tried to take over heaven, but did not succeed. However, the virtues clearly did take over Paradise Lost, just not heaven above it. And we see that the virtues have control over a whole garden of angels. And both virtues we've seen so far have angels accompanying them. Although it doesn't seem that they care about them, as Temperance was pretty quick to throw the angel near him at Ken. Now remember, virtues have their brains inside their robot body, and we can clearly see said brains. And if we look at the virtue bodies in heaven, most of these bodies seem empty of the brains. However, the virtue body in the background here does seem to have a brain inside. And here we very clearly see that this one definitely does have a brain inside. This is quite odd, because through Temperance, we saw that virtues have the mark of the hand too, and so they should also eternally resurrect. In fact, even though Ken ate Temperance's brain, right after, we saw Ken's belly glow, which is what happens when the mark of the hand resurrects someone. So Temperance is just alive in Ken's belly, and we see Diligence resurrect at the very end of the pilot. So what's with this virtue? There are two options. Either they are alive but cannot do anything because their robot body is messed up, and the virtues cannot get past the mother angel to retrieve them, or the angels have some way to remove the mark of the hand and stop resurrection. Either way, the angels are clearly a threat to the virtues, or at least the mother angel is. But despite this, again, the virtues do seem to oppress and control many angels, just not the mother angel. And in the garden where a lot of angels seem to hang out, there is a giant mural on the wall. The code translates to this: the war to surmount heaven. And lo, the angels attempted defiance against our order and blood was shed. Great were their talons, but greater still were ours. The superior order prevailed through great skill and sacrifice, and the lesser order was brought to its knees to serve us, evermore and evermore. This is clearly written from the point of view of the virtues, hence the pictures of the virtues next to the code. And there is more code on the doorway, which refers to the order of the virtue. So this text indicates that at some point the angels tried to rise up against the virtues, but the virtues won. And now the angels serve the virtues. The virtues say that they won through great skill and sacrifice. And I'm guessing this sacrifice is in reference to the bodies of these virtues in heaven. So, my understanding of all of this is that the angels tried to rebel against the virtues beat the angels, although the virtues were not able to conquer heaven itself. But they do have power over all the angels outside of heaven, and the mother angel seems to be mostly confined to heaven. What is interesting is that all the angels, except the mother angel, seem to be pretty stupid. They act like regular birds. I am wondering if perhaps the virtues did something to suck the intelligence out of the angels. This would make sense, since we see that Temperance is a scientist, and he was messing with some sort of giant egg thing. The prophecy page also refers to angels as starving crows, so perhaps the virtues are starving the angels, which has an effect on their mental state. I would like to talk more about this egg thing, but first, let's talk about what the goal of the angels is. Obviously, the mother angel would like the angels to be liberated, but when the mother angel first meets Mel, she says this: "The call of the prophecy echoes louder each day, a legion of angels to rain fire upon all those who rot upon the earth." Later she says, "Foolish blind human, touch not your feet upon the land to be raised. When your day of destiny arrives, we shall be there to guide you on silver wings." It seems that the mother angel wants to use Mel to destroy the Gaslight District, and all who rot within it, not just the virtues. But how is this to be achieved, since the people living in the Gaslight District are immortal? Well, this art was posted by the art director of the Gaslight District. It has images of angels around the human egg, and the code says, "Reject your mark and remain true. The meek shall inherit the earth." This contrasts with these promo artworks with the undead people in them, where the code reads, "Accept the mark and become eternal and cursed evermore." Since this artwork has the angels in it and is purple, it seems that the text reflects the opinions of the angels, or at least the mother angel. It seems that the angels view the mark of the hand as evil, which does line up with this text saying it curses people. So, I am wondering if the way the mother angel wants Mel to destroy the undead is to somehow remove the mark of the hand from them, or even completely destroy the power of the hand. And the mark of a hand does look remarkably similar to the mark that is allegedly on the human egg. But what do the virtues want? We see this in Temperance's lab, and it says, "And so they were all cursed with their gift." This is likely referring to the eternal life that the hand gives, and this text could indicate that the virtues do not see this eternal life as an entirely good thing. Now, I do not think that the virtues are on the side of the mother angel, who wants to destroy all of the undead people, but I do think that perhaps the virtues want to improve the internal life that the undead, including them, have. The virtues did choose to have their brains put in robot bodies, and perhaps this was because they were sick of their original bodies rotting. However, this text does refer to their bodies as a porcelain prison. Perhaps the virtues want true eternal life, where they have eternal, non-rotting, non-zombie bodies. As I said, based on what the Mother Angel said, perhaps Mel has the ability to remove the mark of the hand, which would fit considering she is the only person who does not have the mark of the hand. If Mel does somehow have the ability to remove the mark of the hand, perhaps the virtues think she has the ability to also change the mark of the hand to improve its effects. After Ken ate Temperance, we did see this picture of Temperance holding baby Mel, and we see the remains of Mel's egg to the right. So, we know that the virtues were in possession of Mel. However, when Diligence is fighting Ken, we briefly see things from his point of view. He sees things like this, with a screen, and there is a bunch of code here. Temporal Umbra has translated these codes, and this is a transcription of what they say. Based on this, it seems that Diligence was trying to scan Ken to identify him. But what I find interesting is the very first line, missing asset Nephilim. The Nephilim are a group of people mentioned in the Bible, and in this verse it says, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. This verse is rather ambiguous, but a popular interpretation is that the sons of God refers to angels, and that the children of the sons of God and the daughters of humans are the Nephilim. So, a popular interpretation is that the Nephilim are the offspring of humans and angels. In the context of the Gaslight District, I think that this Nephilim is supposed to be Mel, since she is a human who is the offspring of an angel. And this fits with how this Nephilim is labeled as a missing asset. Mel is obviously no longer with the virtues, but what Temperance said to Ken about keeping his promise and never telling anyone about it implied that Temperance gave Mel to Ken, and this would explain why Mel is a missing asset. The other virtues, including Diligence, do not know what happened to her. To them, she is missing. But we also briefly see this document in Temperance's lab. Milky Melodies translated it, and like the other document in Temperance's lab, the writing here is all mirrored, so I am going to flip this image. And it has the names Melancholy, Miklos, and Iwanus on it. Mel's name is short for Melancholy, so this is obviously referring to her. And Milky Melodies speculated that the other two names are of humans from previous eggs, while the numbers with no names may just be angel eggs that contained angels. And I do agree with this theory. But where are the other two humans then? The myth is that every 10,000 years, a human is born from an angel egg, but the names have numbers next to them. And if we assume that these numbers are years, then that means that there is only a 6-year gap between Mel and the previous human. And then another human came directly the year before. This could mean the people of the Gaslight District are wrong about a human being born every 10,000 years, and it might actually be random. However, it could just be that these numbers are actually the numbers of the eggs. So, perhaps this egg was laid, 10,000 years passed, then another human egg was laid, then 10,000 years passed again, but this time a bunch of normal eggs were born before the next human egg. So, it could be that these previous humans are long dead, if it is true that a human is only born every 10,000 years. But back to what the virtues want to use Mel and any other potential angel egg humans for. We see that Temperance is working on something. What he was working on is hooked up to this giant egg-shaped thing. We see that some fluids pump into it, and then an eye opens inside. There is something alive in this egg-shaped thing. There is angel imagery on the egg, so whatever is inside is probably linked to the angels. However, there is a good chance that it is also linked to the humans, as there was a picture of baby Mel in this lab and that document with her name and other names on it. And throughout the pilot, we repeatedly see this image, which is about the prophecy regarding the human egg. And it even has a little picture of a human in an egg. And this same image is on the ceiling of Temperance's lab, right above the weird egg thing. What if the bodies of the past humans have been used to create a new being? If the humans born from angel eggs do have the ability to alter the mark of the hand, then maybe this is what this new being is being used for. We also see this shipment being delivered to Paradise Lost. Diligence inspected the packaging slip, and we see that the items being delivered are the heart of St. Andrew and the lungs of St. Jude. But there is some code on the slip. Temporal Umbra translated the code, and it says, Mecha Pope build almost complete. So, the Virtues are building something called a Mecha Pope. Is this Mecha Pope the same as whatever is in this artificial egg? I do not know. The lungs and heart that are to be part of this Mecha Pope were in these boxes, and similar looking boxes are in Temperance's lab, but we don't know for sure if they are the same boxes. But whatever is in this artificial egg certainly could be the Mecha Pope. Maybe the Virtues are trying to use the human bodies and body parts of saints to make some sort of godlike being that can alter the mark of the hand. Feel free to like and subscribe.